Hello and welcome to day 2 of our yoga challenge. My name is Jen and I'm so thankful to have you today. Our focus for this practice is going to be all about the low back. So I know that is another very popular one. It's so easy to get a stiff back from all the stuff we do in the day and the fact that we spend a lot of time with support on our back. So always sitting in a chair, always sitting in a car. We don't often get a lot of opportunity to dynamically stretch our back in the day. And then a lot of jobs end up reinforcing a lot of either that prolonged sitting or a lot of lifting and almost too much activity without keeping that maintenance through the low back, keeping it stretched, keeping it strong. So that is what today's practice will be all about. So same props as day 1. You can grab a belt or a yoga strap or a pant belt will work. Having that close by just in case you need it. And then taking a yoga block, blanket, towel, or pillow can also be used. And with that, we will get started for today. We are actually going to begin on our backs. So making our way down, finding a spot that's comfortable. And then once you're laying on your back, we're actually going to keep the knees bent. You want the feet about hip distance apart, letting the hands come palm down or palm up, whatever feels better. And if it feels good to let those knees fall in to support each other, you can take that option, or if it's easier to have a wider knee, that's okay too. And then we'll start to close our eyes and concentrating on that in and out breath. So just like yesterday, we'll breathe in through our nose and then sigh out for the first couple of breaths. So breathing in through the nose, sighing it out. Breathing in through the nose and sighing it out. Now just keeping with a nice gentle breath in and out of the nose, but seeing if you can bring the breath all the way from chest down into that belly space. Starting to do that physical and mental check-in. So doing a scan of the body, even checking in, especially with that low back, seeing how we're feeling. Is it tense? Is it feeling good today? Do we have any spots that are maybe hurting? Just taking note, being aware of them so that we move and we're paying attention to signals our body is giving us. And seeing how we feel mentally. How's your energy? Or any feelings, emotions present? Just letting them be, just being an observer. On that next breath, you can start to open the eyes. If the knees are resting together, go ahead and bring them apart. Walk those feet hip distance if they're not already. And we'll do a little warm up by just dropping the knees over to the right, finding some rotation through the hips. Then sweeping those knees in through center and then taking them over to the left. remembering that we're gonna honor the body as we move. So taking any resting poses we need at any point, dropping those knees to the right, and also making sure that you don't always have to do as I teach, but do how you feel. So if you need to stay in something a little longer, do so. Let's sweep the knees to center, take them to the left. And then pulling those knees back to center. So we're gonna do a little funky of a movement if you've never done it before. So bring the hands right to the hips. So right where you feel the very front of those hip joints. When you say you put your hands on your hips, you put it right on that iliac crest, so we're just dropping right below. And then we're gonna do a little pelvic work. So you're gonna work on pulling that belly button down towards the floor, which rocks your hips back. So like you're trying to smush something that's underneath your low back. It's not quite lifting up, it's just pressing back. Then we'll let those hips go the opposite way and rock forward like you're creating a bridge underneath your low back. You could slip your hands underneath and then rocking them back. It's gonna be a little funky finding that posterior pelvic tilt at first. We'll just take that back and forth a few times. Inhale to rock the hips forward, create that bridge. And then exhale to rock it back. Inhale to rock it forward. And then exhale to rock it back. Beautiful. Then find halfway between those two motions and then just start to hug that right leg in towards the body. If you feel any pinching in the front of your hip, you just take your knee off to the side and then re-wrap it in, finding that sweet spot. And then we'll bring those hands, wrapping them in behind the right leg or just grabbing onto the outer pants, dropping back on that hip to where we're almost creating that 90 degree angle. And then beginning to lift that right heel towards the ceiling, pulling the toes back. Then pointing the toes, then flexing the toes back. So this is flossing that sciatic nerve. You're gonna keep with those ankle pumps back and forth, finding as much knee extension as you can to where you really get a good hamstring opening. Let's take it one more time. So pointing the toes and then flexing the toes. And then taking that right foot right to land on that left knee. We're gonna do a little bit of hip mobility here. So if you can reach to fully bind on top of the knee, you can take that option, or just hooking wherever you can. We're gonna bring that right knee towards that opposite shoulder, so towards the left. Might get a stretch on the back side, right by the bum. Maybe you're feeling a little bit in that inner groin, just not pushing into pain. And then we're gonna go the opposite way, pushing that knee down. Let's take a few of those. So bringing the leg across the body and then pushing it away. Bringing the knee across the body and then pushing it away. And then slowly just drop that right foot to land beside the left. We'll hug that left knee in, landing the hands maybe on top of the knee or wherever you can. If we're feeling pinching in the hip, just take it to the side, try to re-wrap it in. That hip joint can be a little finicky at first. Take one more breath, hugging it in. And bringing those hands in behind the left thigh, interlacing the fingers or grabbing onto the outer pant leg. Drop that knee down slightly, so we're creating that 90-90. And then start to extend the heel towards the ceiling, just to where you can, where you're getting those hamstrings waking up. Then we'll play with flossing that foot back and forth, so we are working into that sciatic nerve. So flexing the toes and then pointing. Keeping with that inhale and exhale. Let's do one more. And then bringing that left heel to land across the right knee. Gonna take that pushing and pulling on the hips. So first bringing that right knee across the body towards the right shoulder. Getting a little opening in that hip. Working on our rotation. And then pushing the knee away. Bringing the knee across the body. And then pushing it away. And one more time, bringing the knee across the body. And then pushing it away. Ooh, my left hip's always tighter. So you can really notice that difference side to side. Go ahead and uncross that left leg. Hug both knees in towards the body. Maybe find a little rock here side to side. And there's always two ways to transition up. So if you know your back actually has some issues going on, I would take it gentle and just roll to one side. Make your way to seated. But if you want to play with a little up and down rock, you can take a few of those back and forth. And then meeting me in a seated position. So options here, if we're feeling like it's tight to sit in an easy seat, then grabbing that block, pillow, or blanket, placing it underneath the hips. Letting those knees go a little lower than the hips can allow for more room for those hip joints. We'll close the eyes for a moment, checking in with our alignment, rocking those hips forward, engaging across the belly. That is our low backs, brace and support. Gently squeezing those shoulder blades open so we're finding that posture across the chest as well. And then drawing that line from the base of the tailbone all the way through the crown of the head. Let's take one more breath with that really good focus to posture. And then opening the eyes. So from here, we're gonna bring the right hand to land to the mat, and you're gonna start to just lift that left arm up and over, coming into a side bend. So if you need more, you can always bend that right arm. The left arm is really reaching over, the palm is down towards the floor. You're drawing a line from the fingertips all the way to that left hip. Making sure our chest is spiraling open. You can even look up to that top hand. And then sweeping both arms overhead. We're gonna bring that left arm down, reaching the right arm up and over. The right palm is spiraling down. We're opening our chest to the front. You can take your gaze up to that top hand, working on drawing that line from the fingertips all the way to the right hip this time. And then bringing both arms up overhead. From here, we'll take those cactus arms, so bending the arms, and then inhale to reach them up. Exhale to bend, so a baby back bend through the spine, maybe even taking a little bit of a side-to-side movement, and then inhale up. One more time, bend those elbows, and inhale up. Slowly bring those arms down, and we're going right into our tabletop. So bringing that block off to the side, sliding anything under the knees that we need to make those knee joints happy. Bringing the knees hip distance apart, bringing the hands underneath the shoulders. Once again, dialing weight into those index and thumb fingers. All 10 fingers should be working, so we're staying strong through the hands. We're going to take those same cat-cows as yesterday, so letting the belly fall forward, opening the heart, looking up. And then exhale to round out the spine. Inhale, let the belly sink, lift the heart, look up. And then exhale to round. One more time, inhale to open. And exhale to round. And from here, finding that halfway between the movements. So finding that neutral tabletop, like you could balance something on your back. And every time we're in tabletop, we're keeping that head lifted, keeping the belly engaging. Then from here, left foot's going to step back. So the left toes can stay on the ground if you need extra support. If you want to play with option 2, you're going to lift it to the height of your body. Keeping that tummy tight, making sure the hips are staying as even as you can make them. And then option 3 is just to take some bend and some straightening of that left leg. So adding one more balance challenge, staying strong in all those postural muscles. Let's do one more. And then relaxing the left knee down. So we'll sit it back into child's pose just for a moment, shaking out the wrist if you need to. And then inhaling right back up, loading some weight into those hands again. Right foot steps back, toes can stay down as option 1. Option 2, lifting up, keeping that tummy engaged, making sure the back is staying as flat as you can make it. You should still be able to balance something. And then option 3 is to start to bend and straighten that right leg. Keeping with that inhale and exhale. One more time. And then dropping that right knee down, setting up for our first down dog. Tuck those toes, send those hips up and back. Bring those feet out nice and wide. For the first down dog, we're always working on just loosening up, not keeping the legs fully straight, but finding some rocking side to side. Making sure all 10 fingers are working. You should be able to shake your head yes and no. This is a good way to get tension out of the neck. Downward facing dog can be really nice for that. Finding some stillness between the movements. Let the knees bend. And then looking up to find the hands. Walk your feet up to meet them. Bring the feet hip distance apart, bend those knees. Let's take our ragdoll, forward fold, our first one. You can sway it out or just hold still. And then releasing. Always rolling up slowly for the first one so we don't get any dizziness. Just stacking one vertebrae at a time. And then slowly rolling those shoulders back. Beautiful. We'll reach those arms up overhead. And then pull the hands into the heart. Then from here, we're gonna bring the hands to the hips. I'll turn so you can see my placement here. So right up on the shelves of those hip bones. You can bring your thumbs to land right at that belt line, so right where that tailbone is. Maybe you can find those little dimples. And then reaching up really tall through the spine. So option 1 is just going to be to lengthen. Option 2 is to take a little standing back bend, but only if that feels good on the back. So for a while, it can take time to train the back to go into a back bend. So really seeing what feels good. If you're going into that back bend, just hold a couple seconds and then rise back up. And we'll just do a few of these. And up. Let's do it one more time. We're just working on lengthening. And then coming back up. Good, then one other standing challenge for the back. We're gonna stand tall, reach those arms overhead, interlacing the fingers and then undoing the index and thumb. Reaching up nice and tall, and then taking a little side bend to the right. And then coming up. We're gonna take 3 to each side, so lifting up and then side bending to the right, and rising up. And then side bending to the right and rising up. Then taking that other side, taking it up and then to the left, rising up and to the left, and up. Last one. And up. And slowly just bring the palms together at the heart. And then from here, we're gonna step that right foot to the middle of the mat. Bringing that back foot to a slight 45-degree angle, making sure the feet are hip distance apart. We'll lower the hands to the hips. And then we're going to find pyramid pose. You'll start to let the hips come forward. Making sure we're not locking this front knee. And making sure the right hip is not cheating, it's staying tracking towards the front. So if you're right here and you're already getting a stretch, this is your spot to hang out. If you can go down a little further, you can land to the floor, maybe you land to your blocks. Just make sure you're not rounding your spine just to get down lower. I would rather you be right here and work on that good alignment through the low back than trying to get low. And then once you're down, just make sure that right hip keeps dialing forward. It can cheat for us, and we want to get a nice even stretch. You got 3 different hamstring muscles to stretch in pyramid pose. So use that inhale and exhale. Let's take about 2 more breaths here. Return the hands to the hips if you lower down, and then slowly returning up, using the strength of the back to come up gently and slowly. And then step that right foot to meet the left. We'll step that left foot back, middle of the mat. Back foot's at a slight 45-degree angle. Tiptoe your feet hip distance apart. Make sure that front knee is not locking. Keep it in that neutral space. And then very slowly start to take it forward. So finding that sweet spot, make sure that left hip is dialing forward. If you're right here and already feeling it, then you can stay right there. If you can lower down without compromising the back, you can take it to the blocks or to the floor. Keeping with that inhale and exhale. Return the hands up to the hips. Using the strength of the spine, slowly lift it. And then from here, we're just gonna dial over to that left side of the mat, bringing our legs out nice and wide. Now we're gonna stretch both sets of hamstrings together. So you wanna tiptoe those feet inward just slightly, bring the hands to the hips, and then start to bring those hips forward. So this is gonna look the exact same. You wanna tighten the thighs And then notice what your spine's allowing you to do. If you're right here and your back's gonna start to round if you go any lower, then just keep your hands on your hips. If you can come down to the floor or a block, just make sure we're not compromising through the spine. And returning the hands to the hips if they're not already, slowly lifting up, using those backs of the legs to control it. Pausing for a moment in our standing, and we're gonna turn those right toes to the front edge of our mat. Start to bend into that front knee. You might have to walk those feet out a little wider. Front heel is in line with the middle of the back foot, opening to our warrior two. Softening the shoulders away from the ears. Hang out here one more breath. And then slowly we're gonna bring that right forearm to land on the right knee. Left arm's gonna come up and over. Palm is down, spinning that chest towards that left edge of our mat. Gaze can go up to that top hand. We're looking for that nice line of pull. This time all the way to the foot, all the way to the fingertips of that left arm. If you want to go down a little lower, you can bring that right hand down to land to the inside of the right foot or up on a block. One more breath. This is side angle pose. And slowly coming back into our warrior two, we're gonna straighten the right leg, turn the right toes in, turn the left toes to the back edge of the mat, finding warrior two the opposite way. Checking our alignment and softening the arms down away from the ears. Then very slowly, left forearm lowers to the left knee. Right arm comes up and over. Finding that nice line of pull, bringing the hands up, or the gaze up to the hand. If you want to take that option, it feels good on the neck. Making sure we're trying to open our heart up to that left edge of the mat. And then dropping a little lower, if that's an available range. If you're going down, it makes you fold, then just come back up on the knee. And then very slowly returning up to warrior two. Straightening that front leg, bringing the hands to the hips, and then just tiptoeing it in. Get a little dance out of it. And then just stepping to the front edge of our mat, opening those palms towards the front, engaging through the tummy. We'll take a nice overhead reach. Bending the knees slightly, take our forward fold. From here, we're just going to bring the feet back, drop the knees, and then using the strength of the arms, just lowering all the way down to our belly. So if laying on your belly creates some pain in your back, then just slip a little blanket or pillow underneath. If it's feeling pretty good, go ahead and stack one palm on top of the other. Let the forehead rest down. So this is already a posture. This is called crocodile pose. This is going to be the easiest back bend. So if any of the ones that we go through are creating pain, just stay in this posture. So from here, the next option is going to be to try to lift that left leg. So seeing if you can get a little glute squeeze without putting too much pressure on your back. You are going to feel those low back muscles working. And then lowering it down, taking that right side. Lifting up, squeezing that right glute. And then lowering it down. We're going to take 3 on each side, so lifting that left leg. And then lowering it down. Lifting that right leg. And then lowering it down. Lifting that left leg. Lowering it down. Then lifting that right leg. And lowering it down. Very good. Then start to reach those hands back. We're going to take a full locust pose and lifting up through the chest, lifting the legs. We're reaching those arms back. And so only our belly is really on the ground. We're using the strength of the back. And then relaxing down. Gonna take that 2 more times as long as it's feeling good. Lifting up. And then exhale down. Lifting up. And then exhaling down. Beautiful. Stack those hands back. Return to crocodile pose. Bend the knees. Find some windshield wipers side to side. Just letting the feet fall one way, then the other. And then we're just gonna roll onto our backs from here. Pausing for a moment in that neutral spine, the knees bent. And then here's where you can use your yoga block or blanket or strap. We're gonna take a supported bridge versus yesterday when we did that active bridge. So you're just gonna lift up the hips. And this time you're just gonna slide a pillow or a block right at the belt line. So right where that tailbone and low back meet. So that pillow can be under there. If you have a block, you're welcome to bring it onto its medium height if that feels a little bit better. We're gonna keep the knees bent, just bring the arms out to the side and let our backs really get that back bend without having to actively do it. So letting it be supported. And maybe you close the eyes here. We start to calm the heart rate down. Let's do one more breath. Then lifting up, slipping that block off to the side. Making sure those feet are hip distance apart. We're gonna do one final twist to each side. So we're gonna drop those knees back over to the right. This time, to make it a little deeper, you can bring the gaze over to the left side, so going opposite of the legs. You can bring your arms to a cactus shape or a letter T or whatever feels good. And then a final option to make it a little bit deeper is just to cross that right leg over the left. So feel free to close your eyes here. And then uncrossing, Letting the knees sweep to center and let them just keep on going to the left. Switch your gaze over your right shoulder, and then you can cross that left ankle over the right knee if you want to take that deeper option. Still concentrating on breath here. Our final pose before we take our Savasana. Really letting the body relax. Uncrossing, bring the knees to center, gaze to center, and then just start to lengthen the legs out nice and long. Slipping something under the knees if you need more support for the back, if it's hard to lay completely flat. And then start to do all those final wiggles, adjustment, find your sweet spot. And this is the good stuff. So we take all that energy we burned out from moving, flowing, stretching out any tension, and we use it to our benefit to rest in this final meditation. So once again, remembering that even if you have to bring your thoughts back into the body, into this present moment over and over again, it's a practice and it will get easier. So taking one final deep breath, and then we'll be an observer of that natural breathing. Checking in with the muscles of the forehead, the jaw, the tongue. Checking in with the muscles in the hands, the shoulders, the low back, the hips, the knees, the feet. Fully surrendering the body to the floor, and we'll spend our last couple minutes in silence, giving a chance for the mind to meditate, to rest. You can stay here as long as you need, but if you are ready, start to deepen your breathing. Begin to wiggle out those toes, the fingers. Slowly bringing movement back into the body. Teaching ourselves here not to rush. Just get up, but working on even transitioning slowly from one moment to the next. Gently bend one knee at a time. And then when you're ready, just rolling onto whichever side is most comfortable, pausing on your side. And doing that mental and physical check-in. Maybe noticing any differences now compared to the beginning of class. And then when you're ready, just making your way to seated. Eyes can remain closed. Just bringing the palms together over the heart. Just ending on a note of gratitude and love that you made this space and time for yourself. It's so important that we know that it is okay to take a moment just to check in, to feel. We don't always have to be on the run. And we'll take that final breath together. So inhaling through the nose and just sighing it out. So inhaling in and then out. Thank you so much for joining me in this practice. Namaste. Thank you guys so much for joining me for day 2. I will see you for day 3. Leave any comments, suggestions, or any questions down in the comments below. Thank you.